Awesome. Welcome, everyone. We have teachers from all over the county. It's great to see all of you attending. All right. So again, my name is Chris Garcia, and welcome to our Back to Basics event tonight. I'll be going over Edpuzzle and Quizizz. I humbly serve here as a coordinator for our educational technology department. Yeah, I have an opportunity of serving across the county and just supporting teachers. Tonight, within the chat, you'll see a few of my colleagues. We have Dr. Alicia Gallegos Butters, and then we also have Pam Rabin. She'll be joining us in a few. We also have Jessica Sierra. She's tuning in. And we also have Sandra Walden. She's our administrative assistant. And we also give a shout out to her today because it's National Administrative Assistance Day. So those of you at school sites or student teaching or wherever it may be, just know that you give them a shout out. If you forgot to do it today, it's okay. Belated tomorrow. Thank all of our administrative assistants um, for the work that they do. Okay, so all right. So one more thing, I'm gonna put a message here. But what you can do is if you would like a copy of tonight's resources, I put a bit.ly. The bit.ly will also be active on the slides as well. So make sure you utilize that. It has a copy of the slides in a PowerPoint format, PDF format. It also has some resources for continue its learning with Edpuzzle and Quizizz. So and those of you that are just coming in, just a heads up, we are recording today's session. So if you would like to have you're more than welcome to keep your camera on. You can turn it off. Utilize a chat as well. If I don't get to your question in the chat immediately, one of my colleagues will. And then I'll be checking in every now and then also just to check for understanding, but also more or less to answer any questions that you might have over tonight's professional development. All right. So before we dive into it, let me just give you a heads up of what's happening here around the county. So actually, in 24 hours, and actually in almost 24 hours, we are having our esports network, and we will be meeting virtually. If you've downloaded the slides, you can register there. You can also go to sdcoe.net/edtech, and then you could see on our calendar of events, you can register there as well. Tomorrow, I'm excited. We're going to be going over our year 24 and 25 calendar for all of our esport professional developments, tournaments, network meetings, and whatnot. And then we'll also have Play Versus with us, giving us a demo of how they are supporting middle schools now and high schools. And then from there, May 11th, sorry, it's all the end of the year things. So esports again, we do have our Super Smash Brothers Unite tournament, and we already have 6 different schools from across the county that have already registered. So yeah, if you want to promote this is open for middle school and high school right now. So if you are currently at a middle school or high school and you want to get students involved, please register, or you can send me an email and I'll get you connected. And then after that, on May 14th, that following week, we have our Curious About series. And we will be going over virtual escape rooms. I believe our project specialist, Carrie Lane, and also possibly Pam Rabin will be covering this. You can register for that. And last but not least, on August 24th, it's next school year. We will be having on Saturday, on August 24th, our Learning and Innovation Summit. We already have all of our speakers lined up, which I'm extremely excited for that. That we have topics from AI to esports. In addition to that, design thinking, and then also the RIASEC learning concept. We have some specialists coming in from Cajon Valley and some consultants that have worked with human resources and different school districts. And we also have some other guests that are making some big differences here in San Diego amongst the high school and collegiate level. And hopefully they confirm later on, but that's going to be cool once we have that. So it's going to be a very fun-filled day of learning for uh, the Learning and Innovation Summit. All right, so here's the agenda. It's going to be very quick and very simple and very easy because I'm excited to go over this. But we are going to be talking about getting started with Edpuzzle. We're going to be talking about utilizing Quizizz AI, and then we're going to have a time to play, have a Q&A if we will have time for that. So just as a heads up. So if anything piques your interest or have any questions, that will be the time also to ask and whatnot. But again, feel free to ask a question at any given point in time in the chat. I just saw one of our other tech coordinators, Pam Braben, is here, so she'll be able to answer some of your questions as well, if in real time. So just know that she's here to support you all. All right, so like any other good lesson, the objective for our Edpuzzle section will be this. We are going to create interactive video lessons with Edpuzzle using YouTube content to enhance student engagement. That is pretty much the focus. Is we want to find a video, we want to ask questions, and we want to check for understanding. Simple as that. Those three things. Find a video, ask questions, and check for understanding for our students. And we will go through that. And I will share some stories about Edpuzzle as well as what it takes and the importance and the tool that it was, especially during the pandemic and still leading out to the pandemic, of the impact that it's had across the classroom. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to emphasize more of the free versions just because if you want to dive into the paid versions, you can do that on your own time. All the information is also on the slides. But the Edpuzzle free version, everyone that has a teacher account gets it for free already. Actually, any account you have. And you pretty much have everything. You get started with video lessons and whatnot. And you have storage space for up to 20 videos. So it's very limited when it comes to sometimes some of the added features when it comes to like screen recording or whatnot. If you're feel comfortable with tech, you could get around it when it comes to just screen recording and student projects and whatnot. But if you were just dabbling into it, this is just a perfect start for it. So to kind of dive into what Edpuzzle is, we're going to go ahead and check this video out. I'm going to play like the first 5 seconds. And when I do that, if you can just give me a thumbs up that you can hear it, I just want to make sure. And then after that, we'll continue moving forward. Oops.
Kids these days are learning how to do almost everything through video. Videos feel personal, are highly visual, and let you control the pace at which you learn. But when you try to show a video in class, you might not always get the best results. Sometimes it's hard to know if students are paying attention or if they're actually learning anything. But with Edpuzzle, turning a video into a dynamic lesson is easy. You can add questions anywhere in your video, so you can check comprehension and get students to engage in critical thinking. You may not always have time to find a video and add your own questions, but don't worry, the entire Edpuzzle community has got you covered. Scroll through our library of teacher-created content and get inspired by what other educators like you are doing in their own classrooms. Or choose from our standards-aligned Edpuzzle originals, instructional videos with built-in practice created with you and your students in mind. With the time you save, you can focus on other important things. Sometimes the video content you're looking for doesn't exist yet, so why not try making it yourself? Edpuzzle's screen recording tool lets you create the video that fits your students' needs. When you're done, you can edit the video and embed questions all in one go. Your students will appreciate seeing a familiar, friendly face as they learn. Once you're ready to assign your lesson, that's when the magic happens. You can hold students accountable for watching the entire video and monitor as they watch it at their own pace. Then, use Edpuzzle's real-time analytics to figure out who's ready to move on to the next lesson and who needs a little more help. That way, you can decide how to best use your time in the classroom. So, the next time you want to assign a video, let Edpuzzle be your guide. You'll be joining a network of educators who are changing the face of 21st century teaching, one video lesson at a time.
All right, let me go ahead. I just have to make one of my colleagues a co-host really quick, and then we will move forward. All right, Miss Raven, you are a co-host. All right, you're welcome. Okay, so Edpuzzle. Again, what I wanted to emphasize for our time together is that while there's a lot of features that we could go over, there's a lot of added things. I don't want to overwhelm anyone with that. If there are specific questions, you are more than welcome to send me an email. But the three things I want to emphasize today, we're going to keep it as basic as possible. Remember, this is back to basics. So we're going to just take a video. We're going to embed our own assessment questions, and we're going to be able to find a way to track students' progress. Okay, so that is the focus. So when it comes to the add-ons, the screen recordings, the voiceovers, let's not get into the weeds of that. Those are great features, especially for UDL. But for the sake of what we're going to be focusing today, those are the three things that we want to dive into. So let me give you a little bit of background of why Edpuzzle, and then I'm going to share just a little bit about even my experience in the classroom and utilizing this. But number one, it's easy. It's a powerful tool. It allows students to stay engaged, and it really turns into a more of an active learning experience. We'll dive into a flipped classroom model and to kind of go over that in a moment. But it allows you to really check for understanding and see where your students are at, especially when it comes to seeing their specific understanding. In addition to that, you also increase student autonomy and accountability for that. And I'll go ahead and share that during the pandemic. And as we were going back at the time when I was teaching in Chula Vista, we were coming back to the classroom, and we were going to be doing everything virtual. The main concern a lot of teachers had were, how do I know if my students are going to be doing the work on their own at their own time, their own pace? How am I going to be able to check on that? And there was the whole idea, and the big words were coming out: synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. And how are we going to do that? And one of the biggest tools that was being promoted, because it allowed you, was Edpuzzle, because that is the tool that allows you as the teacher to have complete control of the pacing, of the questions, of the language, and to see where the students are at when it comes to checking for their understanding. But the other thing is this, is that it allows you to also save class time for higher level learning. So sometimes there's those concepts where like, well, that lesson's done. We're done earlier today than we expected. So let's go ahead and move forward from there, or let's try to figure something out, or let's go outside and have recess. But as a good teacher would know, and as you plan for it, and as we plan for it, when it comes for harder concepts, especially those that are teaching maybe more of the upper grade, having students having to learn about Euclid's algorithm in sixth grade, that is a standard in sixth grade, believe it or not. But learning Euclid's algorithm, I would have probably want to create an Edpuzzle to show my students the day before, all right, this is what Euclid's algorithm is, this is the history behind it, and this is what we need to know, and this is how we're going to use it. Have your students sleep on it, have their dendrites fill up and understand that, and then bring them to the class the following day and revisit that conversation. But you know that your students had that opportunity of watching the night before, of engaging with an Edpuzzle. You know what questions they might have already. So that way you already have a lead up into that lesson. So again, it goes back down to saving time for that higher learning. So how can you use Edpuzzle in class? Well, I brought the whole idea. If you assign a video before the night before a lesson, you've actually just created a flipped classroom model. It's one of the more it's been around for a while. It was pretty cutting edge about, I would say, 13 years ago. It was like, wow, flipped classroom models, books were coming out of it. It was popular at ISTE and whatnot, but now it's become a lot more normal. You can also use it and embed it within Choiceboard or HyperDocs, or some of you are familiarized with a digital lesson design that you could also implement a puzzle within that. It's good for social emotional learning. It also allows you to have differentiated in lessons for your students, especially when you're looking at the universal design for learning concepts. Also formative assessments. And also you can do within, again, we're not going to dive into it, but there is a live mode that goes into it. So the synchronous learning, you can embed audiobooks, and also project-based learning. And what I mean by audiobooks, it's not just audiobooks. You can also embed you as a teacher reading the directions and students even giving responses. And I'm actually going to show you all how that looks like in a moment. At this point, before I move forward though, do we have any questions at all? And again, if you do have a question, you can unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat. But
I have a question.
yeah, absolutely.
I joined a minute or two late. Was there like what you usually do for the start of class to take attendance? One of those?
No, not for this one. You're good on this
Okay,
one, Bailey. Yeah, thank you, Bailey. You're
thank you.
good. Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and let's dive in to see how I'm going to, in real time, make my first video lesson. So Edpuzzle, you can go to edpuzzle.com, and if there's a couple things I'm going to propose. First, I'm going to put the link here to edpuzzle.com. If you want to follow along with me, create your account, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you want to just sit back, relax, and just kind of watch, you're more than welcome to do that as well, because guess what? Like I mentioned earlier, this session is being recorded and the recording will go out. So, and then at that point, you can watch it at your convenience, rewind, fast forward, make my voice go in 1.5 seconds faster, make me sound like a chipmunk. You're more than welcome to do that as well, whatever you'd like. So just as a heads up. All right, so as you sign onto Edpuzzle, the first homepage that you're going to see right here, once you've created your account, you can see I've already used 8 out of 20 of my storage. So 20, I can only use 20 videos. I have the free account. The Discover page has all the subjects and all the content that you're looking for. These are teacher created contents already. So just imagine it's like a digital version of Teachers Pay Teachers with assessments over everything. So depending on the subject that you're looking for, you can filter your videos that way, depending on the grade levels as well. Or if you're a higher education, adult learning. Modules would be more if you're looking, like if you are familiarized with the modules or specific themes or sections. Also different parts of the country. I really encourage all of you, if at any given point in time, it takes about, if you ever need a professional development learning and becoming an Edpuzzle coach, I got my certification a few weeks ago, and I had the opportunity of actually watching and engaging with teachers that are using this in Africa, Japan, Mexico, Guatemala, and it was India was another one. It was so cool to see how teachers all over the world are utilizing this tool. And again, you also can look at, if you want to look at specific YouTube or teacher uploaded devices, or I'm sorry, videos. Again, you also go to the Edpuzzle Originals, and this is their own resources that they offer when it comes to a different types of lessons and whatnot. I'm going to probably stick with math for the most part because that was one of my favorite subjects to teach, especially in 6th grade. But again, you see the different topics that it does offer, and this is just through Edpuzzle Originals. And if you're like, I'm not finding what I need here, well then, go to the Discover part. The other thing that's really cool I wanted to show you is your network. When you sign up, I'm using this one. You can see here, this is my class that I have at the University of San Diego. So I'm able to see other professors or other colleagues that have used this. So if you're at a school site, so previously when I had my Chula Vista one, it had CVESD. I signed in with that credential. I associated myself with that district. Well, now I was able to see students being taught in my school site and also across my district. So I was able to look at, oh, how are they teaching this math and using the pacing guide from our district pacing guide at another school site. So it's great for collaboration. And even I would also have to add vertical alignment within grade levels. So that's how the network usually looks like. And of course, you have your notifications, has some students that turn in an assignment. And of course, you see my classes that I have as well here. And then this is my content of the things that I've created or played around with. But let's go to the Discover part, because this is the part where you're probably going to find a subject you're looking for. So again, I'm going to go to math, save that. And you can see the filtering is already beginning. The grade level, I'm going to go ahead and click 6th grade. And then for modules, I'm going to actually leave that alone and look for something that I am familiarized with and something that I recognize. And even if I'm looking actually for ratios and proportions, and again, I'm doing this real time so that way you all could see the authenticity behind this. Oh, there's Bill Nye the Science Guy. Those of you that had the opportunity to go to the air show may have had a chance to see him. So I'm actually not finding ratios and proportions unless somebody sees it here and I'm missing it, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and type it in here. All right, here we go. Introduction to ratios and proportions. I'm going to check out this video and see what Jessica Picolet did. And let's just go ahead and play like the first 30 seconds and see how this lesson's starting.
This is Introduction to Ratio and Proportion. We have a student, Blake, who volunteered to be part of a living flag at the State Fairgrounds during an Independence Day celebrations. He had a small flag. He was holding one of the small flags in his hand and wondering how the organizers were going to convert.
Okay, so as I'm gonna go ahead and stop right there. It was 24 seconds. But let's just say I want to take her video and I want to edit it and I want to modify some things. Let me show you what you could do. You're gonna have a few options. You can edit the video, and this one is you can edit and create your own version. You can also, if you've watched, let's just pretend we watched the whole video. If you've watched the whole video, you could assign it already directly to your class, and you would see where am I going to assign this to? And you see here are my classes. Here's the one I have specifically for Edpuzzle SDCOE. It's another lesson for another day, but as you can see, Edpuzzle does integrate nicely with Blackboard, Canva, and also Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams. I'm going to go ahead and discard, but I just wanted you to see that. I could copy this video to a content. I could add it to a playlist. And then, of course, share a preview. This is going to be something you're going to want to utilize, especially if you're collaborating with your team. But let's go to the main one. The main feature I wanted to show you was the edit feature. And as you go here, you'll see that throughout this timeline, you see teardrops, and these teardrops take you directly to the question. So right here, ratios must be written in the same order as the written description. And you see the question that's being read right here. A ratio is a comparison of two or more quantities, A and B, called the terms of the ratio. So this is a true or false lesson. Let's just say I wanted to change that. I could make it true or false. I could make it an open-ended question. So I would probably rewrite that and put explain why ratios must be written in the same order as the written description. And I could save that. Now, the feature I wanted to show you that's really interesting is there's two things. If you have English language learners or multi-language learners, there's something powerful about having them hear your voice, especially at home. I'm a big believer in that. I'm the type that even would record our novels. One of my favorite books, Bud Not Buddy, recorded that, put it on YouTube for my students to read, so that we read it in class, but then you can go at home, read ahead. And there's just something powerful about a teacher's voice. And I encourage all of you, even in middle school, during my last year as a middle school administrator, I would have to say there were some classes I walked in and the teachers were actually still reading to their classes. And I thought, you know what, this is a very powerful opportunity for the students to continue developing their language, their processing, their listening skills, following along. So never lose that concept. But going back to this, I'm going to record myself reading this description right here. And it says this: explain why ratios must be written in the same order as the written description. I'm going to stop it. Let me go ahead and test it out.
Explain why ratios must be written in the same order as the written description.
And then the beauty about this also is you can allow audio responses. So your students could reply in utilizing just their voice. And of course, giving this option and this opportunity covers a facet of universal design for learning when it comes to how the students are going to respond. If you've given them the ability to respond in their language that they're comfortable in, students that may not feel comfortable writing a complete sentence out yet, or might not have, it depends on the tools, depends on the different accommodations that are being set up for that. So you could do that. If you didn't want to leave a multiple choice or an open-ended question, you could always put a note and add that, like, hey, notice this key vocabulary term here. So kind of giving students like a little bookmark, like, hey, don't forget this. You might want to pay extra close attention. Or you could even utilize, and I'll actually add one right. So, well, I'll show you how I would have added a note in the beginning. Before I move forward, do I have any questions so far about anything I just showed you when it comes to the questions, the voice feature? Also gives me a time to take a drink of water. So, hope. That is a great question. How do they deal with copyright issues? I can't answer that because legally I do not know what parameters they've put in place for that. That's a great question. I'm pretty sure one of my colleagues, Pam, or one of them that actually has like they could probably look it up. Um, yes, that's a big one. Alicia, Dr. Butters. Don't use anything Disney. That would be something big also. There were that it hit the news like 3 or 4 years ago.
Uh,
Um,
Chris, I think
yeah.
if it's just within your closed classroom area, it sort of falls a bit under fair use. I'd agree with Alicia on Disney, but also if it's on YouTube, and you're just using it with your class, you're probably okay as long as you're not broadcasting it widely.
Thank you. Yes. And then we can go back and I'll show you like you saw the two different ones. And if you noticed a lot of the videos that were in the discovery, you didn't really see a lot of YouTube like generated videos. And as you can see this one, this teacher more than likely used her own and she made this and took a copy from maybe one of the workbooks that they were using. But that was a great question. Thank you. Thank you, Hope. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue on. And as I continue clicking on these teardrops, you see there are more opportunities to change this. Now, I'm going to go to this
Into
beginning
margin.
part right here. And where it says question, this is where I would add a question in the beginning and put a note and give a note to the students. Be sure to watch this entire lesson and answer the questions in complete sentences. And that would be the first thing that they would see. So when it would be assigned,
This is introduction.
that would be the first thing that they would see. Now, let's just say I'm finished. I reviewed these questions right here, the multiple choice. You know what? I really liked what this teacher did. I'm going to keep it as is. I'm going to keep it as is. I can do that. And then I will click finish. And when I finish it, now I can assign it. I can either keep it public or I can keep it private. If I keep it private, again, like Pam was saying earlier, that it would be just for my content, my library. If I keep it public, I'm pretty much letting the entire Edpuzzle community know, like, hey, feel free to use my lesson. And they would have the opportunity to use that. I'm going to keep mine private only because this is just for our sake. I will go back and assign it. I'm going to assign it to SDCOE and click next. If you again this is another lesson for another day when it comes to creating classes. But if you do have questions on that, it's on the resource. If someone can just drop the resource link again in the chat, but you will see that it does have the opportunity to do that. And then general settings, due today at 12 a.m., due date, no due date. This is the part I wanted to dive into. Prevent skipping. I would encourage you to leave that on so the students are like, oh, let me just go straight to the questions. If you really want them to watch the video, you could do that. Also, if it's an assessment, I mean, your school may have their policies. You have maybe your personal philosophies when it comes to assessments and how many times a student can take it. But as you can see, you have your options as well. So you can have the student retake this unlimited times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, unlimited after that. Earlier also, you have the students, they have the option to speed up or not speed up the video of 1.25, 1.5, as far as how fast the video is going. It does tell you though, students can always slow down videos. So at least you know that they can do that. So they can't go so fast, but they can go slow. Once you've done that, then you would go ahead and yeah, the speed up function is fun, especially if you're doing graduate work. I know Pam can attest to that. And then again, you see here it is. And then you can also view it as a student to see how would my students see this. And no, you could practice and go through it as your students would. And there we go. You can download grades. You can reset a student's progress. And of course, once you download the grades, you can include questions in response to texts. And then it gets downloaded as a Excel file. Sorry, I was thinking sheets, but You could convert that to sheets. All right, before I move forward, any questions about creating this and then adding it to your class? All right. So let's go ahead and go back to let me go to my content, because now you see I've made my video here that's private, and my class here has this. I was practicing yesterday with the Amoeba Sisters. NGSS calls for parts of a cell in 6th grade standard. So again, we can see here that you have videos that are available. I mean, there must be some here with the History Channel and whatnot, but again, I'm not going to dive into the whole copyright. But that again, Grace, as you mentioned, or Hope, I'm sorry, it is a great question when it comes to that. But if you are using something privately, I wouldn't be worried too much about it. And in addition to the YouTube part, you can see they also have some sort of agreement with Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks, National Geographic. So there must be some sort of like legal agreement between all parties involved. And then you have Khan Academy. Looks like you have Crash Course as well. And number file. All right. So hopefully, just to reiterate, I've accomplished the objective of creating an interactive video lesson with Edpuzzle using YouTube content. I necessarily didn't use YouTube content. I used the content that was on there. But again, you can use YouTube content to enhance student engagement. So again, before I move out, any questions so far about this? I know this might be very basic for some of you, but again, this is the back to basics session. So we're trying to go as basic as possible to making sure teachers feel comfortable utilizing this. All right, let's talk about Quizizz. And Quizizz is recognized as, oh, you're welcome, Ms. Stevens, the 100% engagement platform. All right. So let me ask you all a question, and actually go ahead and put this in the chat. You can respond via text. If you want to put an emoji, I believe you can't put a GIF or GIF, but if you could, try it. But how much time do you spend on class prep every week? For those of you that are student teaching, consider that as well, because it's part of your experience. But how much time do you spend on class prep every week? Just love to hear some of the answers. 12 hours, okay? 5 hours, 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours. 0, sorry, Angel. 4 hours, 5 hours, 5. It's okay, 5. Okay, so we're looking 5. Okay, even as a TA, we would have been 4 hours. Okay, that's great. Thank you all. So just remember that. But let's think about this. These are the things that technically, as we're teaching, preparing, and planning for our day and our week and our planning sessions, it takes time to plan class content. It takes time for synchronous and asynchronous learning. What about creating formative and summative assessment? It also takes time to assign and review homework, grading assignments, providing feedback, connecting with parents and guardians, engaging with students. And yes, it does take time to get your coffee. All right. But what if I told you all day? Thank you, Gabriela. What if I said Quizizz can do all of this and save you time in your day, everything that's happening? Maybe even make your coffee. We'll figure that out. That's kind of scary to I can actually think with Bluetooth. Are there Bluetooth Keurigs? Can someone research that for me? A Bluetooth Keurig or a Keurig that's connected to the internet. That's kind of scary. But if that's the case, then yes, Quizizz may be able to make your coffee in the future. But right now, it doesn't. So again, this is the free version of Quizizz. It does have limited activities and library access, and its storage, you can create up to 20 activities on there. There are interactive lessons that you have on the free version, asynchronous assignments, engaging assessments. but it does include Quizizz AI, and that is actually what we are going to focus on today. All right, so here's our objective for utilizing Quizizz AI. It is in beta mode right now, but anyone has access to using it if you use Quizizz. So we're going to create an assessment using Quizizz AI by uploading document files, streamlining the assessment creation process for classroom use. So let's go ahead and dive into that actually. I'm also looking at the time, so I want to make sure that we dive into that as quick as possible. So let me go ahead and go to Quizizz. This is the home screen again. So very similar to Edpuzzle. This one you can search for any topic about anything, whatever it is that you're looking for. I will go this time to parts of a cell. And I can see that there must be a lot because it's taking a while to load. Yes. I'm looking at all, but there are specific quizzes. There are lessons that you could utilize. Like anything else, always review this before. Don't just show up 5 minutes before class for your teaching. Just like, all right, let's see what Quizizz is going to show us today. Also for comprehension, to check for understanding or deeper questions, and interactive videos as well. Again, you can also filter how many questions you want to dive into, what grade levels you're looking at, has even from the university to professional levels, the question types, subjects, also language, which is important to consider. Again, UDL, different states. There are still some different science standards. Some states have adopted them, some states haven't. So you could see at Quizizz is catering to the different functionalities and expectations across our country. But let's go ahead and go back to the administrative side. You could go to the create section and create something, but what I wanted to specifically show you today is this part right here. It says Quizizz, create with Quizizz AI. So this is going to give you an opportunity to create something. You could create something from a worksheet, slides, or study materials. You could upload a YouTube link. I'm not going to do that today. You could also import from Google Docs or slides, and then you can also create something with the link. So if it's even just like the Smithsonian website and you find something specifically on the website, you can include that website and Quizizz will create a quiz for you. What I'm going to show you today specifically, though, is how to import a presentation from your Google Drive into Quizizz AI. And what better than to do a real-time presentation of the Edpuzzle and Quizizz slides that you are all either downloaded or the ones that we just used right now. So let me see if I can find it. It'll be right here. Here is my back to basics. And I am going to upload this, and we're going to see in real time how Quizizz AI creates a variety of questions. And then from there, I'm going to show you some really cool features, especially when it comes to accessibility, differentiation of instruction, adaptability, and just giving students the opportunity to be successful. All right, so here is it converted it to a PDF. The grade and subject, I'm going to go ahead and keep it as professional development. It's interesting. It doesn't give me a grade level option, but I chose 12th because everyone here, for the most part, I would assume everyone here finished 12th grade. So, and if not, then keep at it. All right, let's go ahead and generate this quiz. I did click on that, but you saw there was a little tip on the bottom. If you do have a school issued device, and you're more than welcome to download the Quizizz app, and it actually allows you to take photos of documents, and it'll upload those photos and create the quizzes for you as well. So, well, it says less than a minute left, but all right, let's see what this looks. So, wow, it gave me 40 questions from the slides of what I did. And let's look at this first one. I can use a multiple choice, and it's saying, what is the first topic listed in the agenda for the San Diego County Office of Education presentation? Well, is it Quizizz AI, Let's Play QA, Future Without Boundaries, or Getting Started with Edpuzzle? So it even read the logo that we had. Now, this is the feature you can also, of course, change the seconds, give it different points. What I wanted to show you is you could also fix grammatical errors. We could replace it with a similar question. You can convert to a real world scenario. So if you wanted to do that, you can add answer to explanation. But this is the feature I really enjoyed. You can convert it to a different language immediately right there. Have it ready for your students. So if you know you're dealing with or working with different students and provide them different quizzes, again, we're just converting the quizzes, but I will give this as a caveat. You could have different quizzes and assign them asynchronously, meaning students can work on it on their own. So it could be the same quiz, but students have access to their own language. Again, if you click not listed here, provide feedback, and I'm pretty sure they would do that. You could also convert the question. Well, I don't want it a multiple choice. I want it to be drag and drop down, match. With the free version, it looks like it only gives me fill in the blank. So it looks like it would be with the paid version, I could have more options to do that. All right, before I move forward, any questions so far on Quizizz AI?
Is the translator function available in the free app?
Yes, actually, we could try it right now. Let's see how it looks like. I'm gonna actually translate it to Spanish because I know I could probably read that out loud if I needed to. So let's see how that looks like. Where did it go? Oh, all right. Let's see how it looks. So the question in English was, what is the first topic listed in the agenda for the San Diego County Office of Education presentation? In Spanish, it would say, ¿Cuál es el primer tema oh my gosh, enumerado en la agenda para la presentación de la Oficina de Educación del Condado de San Diego? And then the answer would be comenzando con Edpuzzle. That's what we started with, was with Edpuzzle. I could apply the changes if I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and click apply. See what happens. And you see it's right there. If I needed to translate the entire quiz, I could. So that way I don't have to go one by one. And now I have different quizzes. If I have English speaking students, Spanish, the one actually I would want to give feedback for specifically is Arabic. I had the opportunity of working with a lot of Arabic speaking students last year. You could also, so let's go and look at these other features I wanted to showcase. Hold on. You can add similar questions. So this is interesting. AI is gathering the data as far as like, okay, what's the theme here? What other questions? I mean, it gave me 40 questions, so not necessarily going to use it all. Again, like any other good filtering system, as human beings that we are, we need to filter what AI is possibly suggesting or proposing. Like, oh, should we add whatnot? I'm going to go ahead and discard that, but you could look at the options that it does offer. It's also offering if you'd like to add interactive videos. So you could go back and add a video lesson that would go with it. And then the different options again, it has the different options of grammatical spelling errors, another language, similar questions, simplifying the questions, ask questions on a popular topic, add a thematic narrative, add my students' names in the questions. I wouldn't advise that. Add answer, explanation, make it fun, and whatnot. Again, you can also adjust the time. And there you go. And then I would go ahead and click publish. Back to basics. Edpuzzle and Quizizz. I'm going to make this, well, let me make it, I'm going to go ahead and just put this right here, publish it. And let's assume that I vetted all 40 questions. And now I could click start now, and I have these different modalities of how I want to start this lesson. classic mode, mystery peek, instructor pace, test mode, team mode, paper mode. Typically, a lot of teachers use the classic mode to play in class and whatnot. Now, don't have to join the quiz, please. I'm gonna go ahead and I just wanted you all to see this. You could have students you could share via Google Classroom, put a link if you're using something, a different learning management system. It gives you different options, again, integration within different learning management systems. And of course, you could, if students have mobile devices and whatnot. And then we'll go ahead and end it. You could give it a theme. Somebody asked earlier yesterday, how do I make it look nice? I probably would keep that one. I'm a big 80s child, I'm a child of the 80s, so I like this. Reminds me of the whole Knight Rider synth wave. Now, okay, hooray! I guess I finished it. All right, any questions before we move forward? Actually, I do have a question in the. Oh, somebody asked to put it in the actual Q&A. One of the things I will say is the aesthetics to this is very different than one that would be for Kahoot. So those of you that are primary teachers and like, how would I use this? You're more than welcome to use this, and you can see, of course, the word choice that you would have within the questions would be would be catered towards the phonetic awareness of your primary students. But I would also say, I mean, there's other platforms that are out there. But again, I wanted to show you the ease of utilizing Quizizz. Does it sync scores with Canvas? I believe it does. I don't have a quiz necessarily that I gave necessarily here. But I believe it does, to answer your question. And I put that resource about syncing. It's in the, actually, if you go to the yes, thank you, Dr. Butters. So yes. So if you go to the resources pages here, it's actually in the link that I gave you with the bit.ly. So that should be able to answer your question for that. And it's actually down here, the Quizizz. And if not, I would actually encourage you to visit the teacher wish list. If you see a feature that you know it's not on there, ask it in the teacher wish list, and it should, you'll get an answer very quickly. Oops, wrong one. All right. So let's go ahead and continue on. We went through that. So again, just to stay consistent with the objectives, we just covered how to create an assessment using Quizizz AI. We uploaded the actual document of the slides, which is this one that we're looking at. And we were streaming the assessment creation process for classroom use. So at this point, does anyone have any questions? Would like me to explore anything else on this? Again, I would encourage you download that bit.ly and utilize that sheet that I just shared with you earlier that has all of these resources right here. There's a different blog for Quizizz. There's a help center that you could get support from. There's even a university per se where you could actually engage with deeper professional development. And if there's ideas like, I wish Quizizz could do this, well, now you can put your wish list and have them have feedback. I will tell you, they are a first class, both of these companies are first class when it comes to their customer service and supporting teachers. In general, they offer certificates for digital profiles as well. So they're great for assessments. And in the time of assessments right now, where we know students are being tested on every angle, why not try to make it fun and gamified? If you can tell, I like my esports and I like assessments being gamified at the same time. So, all right, any questions in the chat? Because if not, then we would actually be done 10 minutes early. And I know there's a group of like 30 people here. They're like, wow, that's normal. Yes, Miss Shelton, great to see you here. Yes, we'll go ahead and put the bit.ly in the chat. And it is right here. Thank you, Mrs. Shelton. Yes, she's awesome. One of the, I'm not to have favorites, but I will say one of my favorite 8th grade English teachers in the entire county. One of them. So that means I have a list. All right. Anything from anyone? If again, my contact information, we put my email here. If you'd like to continue this conversation, you're more than welcome to. Does Quizizz link with Schoology? It's a great question. I believe it does. Actually, Pam and Alicia, I don't really want to Google anything right here, right now, but if you could do me a favor.
I'll look it up.
Okay, thank you. It's a great question, Schoology. Actually, before we leave, if you all can just do me a favor, let me know what kinds of, thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Before you all leave, just let me know what learning management systems does your school utilize? Actually, that's something I'd love to know. So it's Canva, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, Schoology, Blackboard, even Google Classroom. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Class Dojo and Classroom. Awesome. Google Classroom. Google Classroom, Class Dojo. And Pam confirmed that there is an integration between Schoology and Quizizz. Thank you, Dr. Butters. Yes, Schoology Edpuzzle does link. And then it looks like Quizizz as well. There's a link right here. So those of you that are still here and wondering about the Schoology integration with Quizizz. Adam Canvas. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for attending tonight. Yeah, have a good rest of your Wednesday evening and enjoy either a baseball game, NBA finals, or just a night. Sun's out. Go take a stroll. All right, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you. That's right, Michelle. Go Padres.